You're watching a Start to Finish Podcasting Quick Tip, brought to you by the Start to Finish Podcasting TV Network with Andre Lewis.
Hello, and welcome to the Start to Finish Podcasting Podcast. I am Andre Lewis, and today I'm going to share some of my stock plugins that I use when I'm doing a podcast and I am completed with my recording. These stock plugins come with Logic Pro 10, so if you use Logic Pro 10, you're in luck. Before I start showing you some of my plugins, the first thing I want to tell you is that everybody's voice is different. So you may be able to use some of the plugins that I use. The settings may be different. Some of the settings may be the same, but I guess what I'm trying to say is this is not the blueprint for good audio for you. It's not the blueprint. For me, this is what I use when I do use Logic Pro 10 stock plugins, but for you, this may not be for you. Your voice is different from mine. Yours may be a little higher, maybe a little lower, but it all depends on your voice. So don't look at this and say, okay, after I do this and set my settings the same exact way that Andre did, this audio is going to be great. It's actually not. Everybody's voice is different. So that's what I want to make sure you understood before I started showing you the stock plugins that I use for Logic Pro 10. So let's get started. Before I start, I'm going to do a quick recording clip just to give you an example that we're going to use throughout this video. So right now I'm using a DBX 286, and because I'm using a DBX 286, it's processing the audio, it's enhancing it, it's compressing it, it's using an expander. So that's why you hear the audio that you hear now. So what I'm going to do, just for the sake of this raw audio recording, I'm going to turn off the effects. I'm just going to hit bypass on the DBX 286 so you can get a raw recording, and then we can work with that recording using the stock plugins. So right now I'm going to do a raw recording, but I'm going to turn on the bypass for the DBX 286, and you'll probably start hearing a little background noise and stuff like that, but it's just for the sake of this recording. The last video I made doing this, I forgot to hit the bypass button again to turn it off, and I wound up going through the whole recording bypass, and it didn't sound too great in my eyes and to my ears rather, so I'm doing it over. So right now I'm going to turn off the bypass and do a quick recording. Okay, as you can hear, the bypass is turned off, and now I'm going to do a quick recording. Welcome to the Start to Finish Podcasting Podcast with Andre Lewis. I'm here to help you understand some of the stock plugins that Logic Pro 10 has. I hope this audio and I hope this video helps you very much to you starting your own podcast and understanding special plugins and what they are for. Okay, so that's when I was supposed to turn the bypass off on the last video, but I didn't. But this time I did. So what you're hearing is a raw recording of what I just did without the DBX 286. So let's take a listen here. Welcome to the Start to Finish Podcasting Podcast with Andre Lewis. I'm here to help you understand some of the stock plugins that Logic Pro 10 has. I hope this audio and I hope this video helps you very much to you starting your own podcast and understanding special plugins and what they are for. All right, so that was the raw audio. Let me just check something here. Make sure. Yep, we're good to go. See, I didn't have this set either, so it's probably why I didn't pick up what I was recording. For the listener, they wouldn't have heard it. All right, so we're all set. What you just heard was the raw audio recording. It was just a clip, And now I'm going to start going into the plugins that I use when I'm using Logic Pro 10. All right, so the first one that I use, let's bring this down here because these plugins right here are for this channel. So I'm going to bring it down. All right, unmute it. And this is the raw audio. So let's hear it one more time. Welcome to the Start to Finish Podcasting Podcast with Andre Lewis. I'm here to help you understand some of the stock plugins that Logic Pro 10 has. I hope this audio and I hope this video helps you very much to you starting your own podcast and understanding special plugins and what they are for. All right, so what you heard was the raw audio again. Now I'm going to start applying some of the settings that I usually apply when I'm using Logic Pro 10. All right, so the first thing I'm going to apply is a speech enhancer. And to get to that, you have to go, you know what? Let me tell you one more thing before we get started. I want to give somebody some credit because they are the ones who showed me this particular setup here. Aaron Dow, the podcast dude, he showed me in a video how he does his setup with his stock plugins with Logic Pro 10. And though these are not the exact same in terms of the settings, they are the same plugins that he uses on one of his video tutorials. So I just want to give him credit and just to let you know that I got this from him. My settings are a little different from his, but our stock plugins are pretty much the same. All right, so let's get back to the stock plugins. All right, so the first thing I usually do is a speech enhancer. And to get to that, you're going to hold down Option and click here. And it's going to take you down to the Legacy option. And you're going to click Speech Enhancer. Once I've already did it, but once you've done that, the Speech Enhancer will come up. And I like to set this. Let me tell you what the Speech Enhancer does first. The Speech Enhancer kind of denoises your background a little bit. So it'll take a little bit of noise out of your background. It doesn't do like it doesn't do a job like the expander or the noise gate, but this takes a little noise out of your background. So I'll turn this on. I have my settings at negative 40 decibels, which is kind of like the standard. So let's take a listen with this on. And let me tell you this, when we get to the end right here, when we get to the end, I'm going to turn this on and off so you can really hear the difference. You may not hear the difference that much as it's playing, but on when there's no one talking, you can hear the difference. So let me just pay attention to the end of this. Welcome to the Start to Finish Podcasting Podcast with Andre Lewis. I'm here to help you understand some of the stock plugins that Logic Pro 10 has. I hope this audio and I hope this video helps you very much to you starting your own podcast and understanding special plugins and what they are for. All right, so you saw how when I turned it on, it kind of took some of the noise out the background. And then when I turned it off, you could hear it again. So that was the speech enhancer. Okay, and that's the first one I usually start with. Now, the next one is EQ. Now, this EQ is totally subjective. You don't really need to have an exact setting. The same as anyone else's. It's all subjective as in terms of what you hear. So your right sound may be somebody else's wrong sound, or their wrong sound may be your right sound. So this is a little different. So you can set this pretty much to what you want to set it to. This is what I set it to. This is my standard default settings. So I will let you hear it, and you may not hear much of a difference. But this is the settings that I use. Just a second here, and I'll just play it right now with and without the EQ. Welcome to the Start to Finish Podcasting Podcast with Andre Lewis. I'm here to help you understand some of the stock plugins that Logic Pro 10 has. I hope this audio and I hope this video helps you very much to you starting your own podcast and understanding special plugins and what they are for. All right, so you can hear the difference. I've heard the difference. If you're listening on your computer and it's just coming to the default output of your speakers on your computer, then you probably won't hear much of a difference. But if you have headphones, you'll definitely hear the difference between having the EQ on and having it off. And the EQ, you can use the EQ to take out some bass. You can use it to bring a little warmth into it, a little bit more bass. You can use it to make it more clear and have more clarity. The EQ, it does a lot. So right here is the low end. You'll do your adjustments if you need to minimize or increase some of your low end. Your mids will be in between here, and your highs will be here, so you can make some changes here. So that's what the EQ does. And it kind of could take out some rumbling also, depending on if you cut it at 80 hertz, it'll take out some of the rumbling, if you bang on the desk or something like that while you're recording. So EQ always works good for me. There's nothing wrong with having a little EQ. I think it helps your recording a lot. So the next one we're going to go to is Compressor. So the compressor, I have two different compressors here. I have the peak compressor and I have the RMS compressor, and I will tell you the difference in just a second. The compressor will help you bring down some of the peaks in your audio. This peak compressor, let me just put it up here. This peak compressor kind of tones down or chops down the peaks in your audio. And when I'm getting like loud signals or plosives or something, high signals like that, this will take it down a little bit. That's what this peak compressor is for. And to give you my settings here, the threshold I usually have set at -12. My ratio is at 3:1. Sometimes I take that down to 2:1. And my attack is 5 milliseconds. And my release is 100 milliseconds. But I have it on audio. Audio seems to work okay. And when you open this up, it's going to be clicked on your output here. So you want to click on sidechain and make sure this is peak and not RSM. Okay, so make sure it's peak, because RSM is the next one. So like I said, with the peak audio, with the peak compression, it's going to have your audio, your peaks rather, get compressed down to whatever settings you have it. Okay, so that is your peaks, and let's listen to how it sounds. You might not get too much. It might not work that well because I'm not peaking in this recording. But we can take a listen anyway. Welcome to the Start to Finish Podcasting Podcast with Andre Lewis. I'm here to help you understand some of the stock plugins that Logic Pro 10 has. I hope this audio and I hope this video helps you very much to you starting your own podcast and understanding special plugins and what they are for. Okay, so that was the peak compressor. Okay, now I'm going to show you the compressor that I use, the RMS compressor. Now, my settings are different. Here, I have my settings, my threshold at -20 as opposed to -12 for the peak. I have my ratio at 2.9, which is supposed to be 3. I'll just leave it about right here. So I have the ratio at 3:1. My attack is still 5 milliseconds, and my release is on auto. If it's not on audio, I'll leave it at about 200 milliseconds. The knee stays the same at 7. I don't really mess with that. These three right here, I don't mess with also. And here, like I said, it's going to show as output. You want to click the side chain and just make sure this one is RMS and not peak. So we're going to make sure it's RMS and not peak. And RMS is a little different. It does the same job, but RMS, remember when I said the peaks bring down your spikes in your audio, it compresses them down. So like plosives and loud noises or claps, that peak will bring it down. It'll just compress the peaks. The RMS compresses your entire audio. So it brings your entire audio down, compressed to these particular settings I have them set to. Now, I'm going to let you hear what it sounds like with this on, but like I said, there's really no peaks in this sample audio that I just recorded. So you may not hear a big difference or a difference at all for that matter, but I'm going to let you hear it anyway. Look, pay attention here. When this moves, it's showing you that it's actually doing some type of compression. Welcome to the Start to Finish Podcasting Podcast with Andre Lewis. I'm here to help you understand some of the stock plugins that Logic Pro 10 has. I hope this audio and I hope this video helps you very much to you starting your own podcast and understanding special plugins and what they are for. All right, so I don't know if you heard a difference. I heard a little bit of a difference. You got to really have an ear for this. And if you're using headphones, you might hear something. If you're not using headphones, you probably won't hear anything. So that's the RMS compressor. It kind of compresses the whole thing, whereas the peak compressor compresses these peaks here. All right. De-esser, I'm not going to go over that much. I mean, De-esser is just pretty simple. I have that set at 5,000 for the frequency detector, and it's going to suppress 5,000 hertz for the frequency is going to get suppressed 5,000 hertz. So I usually keep this around this settings. I mean, I'm going to turn it on and let you hear it, but you probably won't hear too much of a difference because I don't have a lot of S sound in this sample recording, so it's probably not going to make a difference. So let's listen to it anyway. Welcome to the Start to Finish Podcasting Podcast with Andre Lewis. I'm here to help you understand some of the stock plugins that Logic Pro 10 has. I hope this audio and I hope this video helps you very much to you starting your own podcast and understanding special plugins and what they are for. Okay, so that really didn't make much of a difference. I didn't hear too much of a difference, but I just wanted to show you what those settings are and where I have them set to. Now, the adaptive limiter, that pretty much, I use the adaptive limiter, and it's not something that you have to use. It kind of acts as, how can I put this? It kind of controls the loudness, the perceived loudness, and it kind of smooths out the audio. It kind of smooths it out, like the peaks, kind of like an expander. Kind of acts in the same way, but the expander is a little bit more effective. But I'm going to let you hear how this sounds, and you'll probably hear it different. So these are my settings. I have it at the gain at 3.2 decibels. These two are come pretty much by default. And I keep this on. That's by default. So I'm going to let you hear the difference with this. And you probably will hear a difference with this. Welcome to the Start to Finish Podcasting Podcast with Andre Lewis. I'm here to help you understand some of the stock plugins that Logic Pro 10 has. I hope this audio and I hope this video helps you very much to you starting your own podcast and understanding special plugins and what they are for. Okay, so that made a difference. I'm sure you can hear it. If you have headphones, you definitely can hear it. You probably can hear it on your computer speakers also. But I use this. I think this is pretty good. It does well for me. It's always worked for me. You don't have to use it, but that's just what I use. Just want to let you know that's something you can add in. And the next thing I'm going to use is an expander. Now, before I go into that, I used to use a noise gate instead of the expander, but what I realized is a noise gate, what it does, if you don't know, a noise gate, you set your noise gate, you set the settings for, let's just say, negative 20 decibels. Anything that comes under lower than negative 20 decibels, the gate will shut. Anything over negative 20 decibels, the gate will open. So I don't use a noise gate anymore because what happens is if there's a lot of noise in the background and I speak, you're still going to hear that noise. The only thing the noise gate does is if there's a lot of noise in the background and I'm totally silent and that noise is under negative 20 decibels, it's going to take out all that. It's going to take out that background noise and it's going to be totally silent. But when I talk, it's going to open back up the gate and you're going to hear that noise. So every time if the noise gate is set, every time I speak, you're going to hear that noise. And if I stop like this, you're going to hear that noise. You're not going to hear that noise, but when I start talking again, you'll hear it. So it's kind of real annoying. Like if I pause in my speech and you don't hear nothing, but then when I start talking again, you start hearing all that noise in the background and it doesn't sound good. So for that, I don't use a noise gate, because once the gate opens, it's letting in everybody. You ever had a party or anything, have some people outside your house, and you only want 5 of your friends to come in, but there's 20 people out there? You open up that door, they're all going to come in. But you don't want them all in. So don't use a noise gate. Use an expander. Now, that's what I like. An expander works better for me. And I'll explain what an expander is. Now, with the compressor, it takes the compressor pretty much takes the loudest parts of your audio and turns them down. Now, the expander takes the lowest parts of your audio and turns them down. Okay, so the compressor takes the loudest parts of your audio and turns them down. The expander takes the lowest parts of the audio and turns them down. And you'll find that works a little bit better because if you're using the expander, excuse me, it's going to take out the lowest parts. And when you talk, it's not going to bring them back up like a noise gate. Okay, so the expander gate works pretty well, and I'm going to go give you a quick example right now. So let's see here. Okay, I'll put this here, and let's listen. And pretty much listen toward the end also, because it's going to take out the noise, and when I speak, you're still not going to hear the background noise. So let's take a quick look. What I'm going to try to do is hit play. Let me move this over here. I'm going to hit play, and once it gets to about right here, I'm going to turn it on so the noise is going to disappear. All right, here we go. Welcome to the Start to Finish Podcasting Podcast with Andre Lewis. I'm here to help you understand some of the stock plugins that Logic Pro 10 has. I hope this audio and I hope this video helps you very much to you starting your own podcast and understanding special plugins and what they are for. Okay, so as you can see, when I turned it on, you didn't hear much. You didn't hear much of anything. When I turned it off, you can probably hear a little bit in the background when I talk. So I'm going to start it from right here, and I'm just going to let you kind of listen to how it works again. I'm going to turn it off, and then I'm going to turn it on. So you can see how well that works. So I would use an expander gate as opposed to using an expander gate. I would use an expander as opposed to using a noise gate. So these are my settings. These are the settings that I use. And what we're going to do now is listen to it with all of that, all of these settings on. And I'm also going to let you listen to the raw audio without any of these settings. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to turn this off real quick. All of these settings off. Not sure if you can hear, but there's a plane flying over my house. But if you don't hear it, then this DBX is doing its job. If you do hear it, I got a problem. I got to do some other settings. All right. So excuse me. I turn this off, and what I'm going to do is going to copy this clip, and I'm going to paste it up here. Let's move this one over because you're going to hear this one first. All right. So right now you have, let me turn this back on. Sorry about the clicking that you're hearing. All right. So right now you're going to hear the raw audio, and then you're going to hear the same audio with the effects. So let's take a listen. Welcome to the Start to Finish Podcasting Podcast with Andre Lewis. I am here to help you understand some of the stock plugins that Logic Pro 10 has. I hope this audio and I hope this video helps you very much to you starting your own podcast and understanding special plugins and what they are for. Welcome to the Start to Finish Podcasting Podcast with Andre Lewis. I'm here to help you understand some of the stock plugins that Logic Pro 10 has. I hope this audio and I hope this video helps you very much to you starting your own podcast and understanding special plugins and what they are for. Okay, so you see the difference in the two, and you notice at the end here, you heard a lot of floor noise with this one, but you didn't with that one. That's that expander gate. So let me let you listen again. I'll skip from this one to that one. Understanding special plugins and what they are for. Special plugins and what they are for. Okay, so you heard the difference. So that expander really works good. I would suggest using that as opposed to the noise gate. So these are my settings. This is what I use when I'm not using my DBX 286. When I'm just using a microphone going into the audio interface into Logic Pro 10, I use these settings, and it does great. As you can see, I mean, it's a huge difference between the raw audio and the audio that has effects on it in it. So these are my settings. Like I said, you don't have to use these exact settings. Everybody's voice is different. Mine is different. Yours is different. But you can, this kind of gives you a foundation of where to start. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me at starttofinishpodcasting@gmail.com. You can reach me on my website, starttofinishpodcasting.com. And you can also leave a comment in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer your questions. If I don't have the answer to these questions, I will get back to you and find an answer. Please make sure you subscribe. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. And just remember, one size does not fit all when it comes to effects. You know, what may be good for you may be not so good for me, and vice versa. So just make sure you keep that in mind when you're copying these settings if you decide to do so. And remember, you can always give yourself some room to, you know, change some things and just tweak it so it works best for you. And that's what I did. So I hope this helps. Don't forget to subscribe and don't miss out on any of these videos. I got a lot more videos coming up, so please make sure that you subscribe, and I will surely give you some more videos to come your way. Thank you again. I appreciate you, and have a great day.
Thank you for watching the Start to Finish Podcasting TV Network.